Oh there, welcome to the alternative future of the world. I have a map of 3 continents so far. I think it's really low to have in North America, South America, and Oceania wouldn't be that interesting. So these are the 3 main continents we're going to focus on this episode. I know I just circled those islands. Anyways, let's get into it. We're about to reach 2,000 views soon, and I'm hoping that we can reach 20 subscribers by the end of January. Right now we're at 16. But since this is the alternative future of the world, we have to start somewhere. Let's start somewhere. Hence, we start with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So, we have Russians. Yeah, this is basically what I think the front line is in Ukraine right now. It's just pretty awkward. And so essentially, if Russia tried to fold its military and they could beat Ukraine easier. And the cat's walking on me. Obviously, though, we just have Ukraine attempting to push up to Crimea. Ukraine manages to cut off Crimea. So hence Russians are forced to retreat out, secure their supply lines as Ukraine attacks from the north. Russia now begins to go into peace negotiations with Ukraine. So essentially, though, rebels in Luhansk and Donetsk begin a counterattack against Ukrainian forces in the east. Although essentially Russia has lost almost everything. In the meantime, we also actually have essentially, Russia and Ukraine, they just want peace at this point. France maintains the creation of 2 states, Luhansk and Donetsk. Also, Russia gets full control of Crimea. Essentially, Russia takes this. Oh, yeah, right, I forgot to mention NATO. I forgot to mention NATO exists. So yes, essentially we have all these countries just hopping on the boat to staying alive.
Once inside, there are two armored doors. The first can only be opened by a special key card that's carried by our dear friend, the chief of police. The second is
Obviously, Austria would want to join NATO.
trained to strike first.
Oh, actually, wait a year I forgot they actually can't.
Governor Foxington is the only one who has clearance to open the second door. So step two, she and I will need to get up close and personal. Enjoy the evening, Mr. Ambassador. Interesting piece. Trashy, pointless, and pretentious. They say that art reveals more about the viewer than the artist.
So then, however, shortly after this, Ukraine decides to join. The only other country that joined is Bosnia. And that's basically it.
I don't think it'll be that hard. I have a feeling it'll be harder than you think. I'd say they're one epic job away from cementing their legacy. Mr. Buttigieg, you're funny. I am? Your legacy they're cementing is like in prison. Did you see their last job? Unsecured exits, crude disguises, compulsive showboating. I mean, it was a mess. All the classic signs of a crew in decline. Next, they're gonna make it personal. That's what it is.
Essentially, that's the Russian version of NATO.
That's your opinion.
Then suddenly we have China randomly invading Taiwan. Because honestly, we all expected this to happen at some point. I mean, like, China literally said that it would happen. So, seeing this, North Korea says, we actually have a chance against these guys now.
That reminds me, may I canvass a photo of the governor?
Yeah, so essentially things aren't going to go too well. South Korea and Japan both join on the war.
Once we're in, it's on to step 3. We'll split up and take our position.
India decides to stop China. Along Sri Lanka. And this is the Myanmar is not a fan of India. And it's neither is Pakistan. Yes, it's essentially most of the Indian subcontinent against China. At the same time, though, Russia decides to join in on the war. And you get the entire CSTO into the war. Along with some other nations that Iran pressured into the war. There are very few countries that are even resistant at this point. Just when Lebanon knows to be just smart and just be on these guys' team because they know the United States is already in this war. Yeah, so this is essentially the entire war. So first off, we have North Korea with Chinese assistance being able to attack deep enough into South Korea to a point where it was captured Seoul. It captured Seoul in just a matter of days. It is a large success in the opening days until Japanese and American soldiers arrive. Same with essentially Myanmar and Thailand. Myanmar has some success against Thailand just for the first couple of days. Because it's just then that we essentially have invasion of Myanmar being launched by Thailand, because Thailand is by far stronger. And stronger by a mile. India and Bangladesh attempted attack. It's essential at this point Myanmar just began to lose, as Thailand began its major counterattack, which split up almost all of Myanmar's forces to two major fronts.
President of the committee, Governor Diane Foxington. Thank you so much.
So these are the two major fronts in Korea, and mostly in Myanmar there's a large front. At the same time, the Korean advance continues as Chinese soldiers make a small landing in southwest South Korea. South Korean soldiers are almost completely surrounded. They're able to retreat due to Japanese support, with American soldiers beginning to flood in. They attempt a landing in south. Essentially, we just have the Great Asian War. Then, essentially, Myanmar just said, I'm done with this war. Essentially, Myanmar just is dead. It's like dead at this point. So the American forces at Taiwan begin their major landing in China. They annex the island, Hainan Island. American forces have to meet up with Indian soldiers just north of Vietnam. So then we essentially just have a large advance being made. And Indian soldiers managed to pass through using their knives.
Nice work, everybody. Now let's make like a wolf and get the pack out of here. Wordplay. I don't get it. You have to understand, I didn't bring hope back to the city for a moment. I did these good things because of how they made me feel. Until we finally get that
Americans make some more continue. They just have like a continuing just like urge to just keep going. They're deep into China. And since China's losing a lot of its southern territories right now, it ain't going too good. Just when Indonesia decides to just become back neutral. Neutral then. Yeah, so we essentially just have the Great Asian War happening as Americans attempt major pushes along China's Great Rivers. The Americans push up to one of them in their southernmost advance. Then they cross it and they link up with their northern advance. So then America and their allies finally link up with Indian forces. Obviously, Chinese forces around here begin to slowly coalesce into a small pocket.
Just throw us in jail for the rest of our hopeless lives. That's the plan.
So yes, essentially, South Korea just makes some small advances into North Korea.
Maybe a savage beast. Basically walking garbage. Sorry, I made my point. Do what you need to do, pal. But how can we say they're hopeless?
South Korea manages to capture Pyongyang. And then Russia essentially just turns on China. Russia brings in Central Asia. Anyways, don't mind me, just coloring it up, I think. So we essentially have Russia making a massive invasion of North China. Why? By the time the South manages to get far enough north, Russia's already pushed into most of northern China. So yes, essentially we have American forces making a smaller landing just south of Beijing. They actually made two. The Americans finally managed to surround Beijing as the Russians come in from the north. Essentially, Russian forces capture a large part of northern China. Yeah, so essentially, that was basically it for the war. After this, they surrendered. The Americans obtained the creation of a puppet state in China.
They say experience is the best teacher, and they're wrong.
Although,
Good morning, students of goodness, and welcome
what's left of the Chinese government
to the rest of your best life. A giant what?
was essentially cornered.
It's a lamp.
Now there's a new Indo-Pacific version of NATO.
What it is. Once again, it's not about.
It is. So you essentially have a giant. So we have a new Indo-Pacific version of NATO between Taiwan, now the new Republic of China, United Korea,
So we're going for a tingle? Not any tingle.
Japan,
Goodness, which you'll feel in my state-of-the-art
and Japan.
Okay, Mr. Snake, I'm getting you. Just for me. Why? The fundamental level is about putting someone else's needs ahead of your own. Oh no, no way.
And India finally just gets land. And it manages to obtain several territories, which is from Pakistan and China, and essentially a bigger India. At the same time, what's left of the communist government is thrown out of Xinjiang and Tibet. What's left of it is essentially just stuck. So essentially, we just have Russia annexing a lot of northeastern China. Even Mongolia decided to join Russia. Also because of the fact that they essentially would support them. essentially. Yes, essentially, the new Russian version of the whole thing is literally. What's that? Nina leaves NATO. It's like basically no action happening on this front the entire war. These countries still helped. It's essentially just gonna look at the peace treaty really quick. Yeah, so we essentially just have. Bangladesh claims some small territories. Good, I can watch oddballs. Oddball. So yeah, so this is basically just a peace treaty. Now I'm actually gonna be watching my show right now. So watching a show right now. So yeah, that's why I need to rush through this. Ah! I'm watching Oddballs on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's a really good show. Also, it's made by a famous YouTuber, so yay. And it's not even that long. Like, I mean, there's like, what, 12, 13 episodes, and yet each of them are only like 20 minutes long. That's why I like watching them. They don't take up hours of my time. Actually, we'll come back to the Sea Street later on in the next episode. Bye-bye.